How's it going? So I'm Nick. I'm from Jupiter. So today I'm going to talk a bit about Jupnet and our next-gen Omnichain VM. So basically, I lead product in Jupnet. So what I mainly do is I mainly work closely with the developers in the entire team to really focus on the core pillars of Jupnet. So here's a recap of what we've been doing thus far over the past 8 months. So Jupnet aims to be the omnichain liquidity hub, and we want to power omnichain swaps from one account and have the max performant venue for all assets, and also be an interchain infra for all chains. So to make it possible, we are going to create the most functionally innovative VM on top of the most performant one. So how do we do that? By doing so, we would have to perform a few focuses, right? So we want to have 3 core anchors. So we want to have a concise and advanced interchain stack, a decentralized authentication layer capable of simplifying and onboarding of users for omnichain asset management, and of course, to have toxic flow prevention capabilities to build even greater capital markets. So why do we want to build our own VM, right? And there's a really, really common quote that we've always seen over the past decade, and it's that people who are really serious about their own software should make their own hardware. And we are really, really serious about the full stack, from enabling the maximum level of control, information, and authority to you, the user, to enabling a constructive base for an efficient capital markets network, to simplifying how an advanced omnichain layer is built. So to ultimately enable us to build a single source of truth for all of the chains. So here's a quick overview of the VM. So Jup VM is actually a heavily modified version of SVM, the Solana virtual machine, and it encompasses 3 main frameworks. So it basically works on aggregating ledger states across interchains. It's going to carry a built-in cross-chain consensus and be able to process an infinite number of signature standards, and also be able to prioritize trade executions. So infinite signature standards mean that not just Solana's ED25519, you will also be able to process a ton more cryptographic signing standards that are available today, like in Ethereum. So here's a broad overview about Jup VM's architecture. And the architecture can be really focused on 3 main concepts. So the 3 main concepts are DAF SIG verify, batch transactions, and of course, Jup VM itself. So what Jup VM actually contains is a suite of programs that enable the omnichain ledger to maintain a single state for all the chains we cover. So here are the key updates in Jup VM over the past 4 months. So we have DAFs, which carries the native omnichain stack, aggregated decentralized identity, which is Jupnet's built-in native decentralized authentication framework for users, built in with ZK, and of course, the toxic prevention engine, which prevents MEV and prioritizes performant leaders on the network. So here's the omnichain stack first. So in Jupnet, we don't just run validators, we run DAFs. DAFs are decentralized oracles that validate and execute user intents towards the other chains. So therefore, we call them DAFs. And DAFs focuses on 4 main concepts. So in consensus, we also run the network for consensus, but we also process omnichain consensus through observing related interchain transactions, process interchain service validations, and of course, authorize the omnichain executions. They also produce and maintain a single state of truth across all chains, and because of this hub-and-spoke design, interchain state becomes exponentially easier to maintain over time as we adapt more and more chains. And this is also going to result in a much more minimalist and consistent design for security assumptions across varying finalities, such as Ethereum, Solana, and Bitcoin. So here's a quick look at how fast a first step on Jupnet can perform a purchase across multiple chains. So right here, I'm going to make a multiple purchase across Solana, Base, Arbitrum, and more. And look, it takes less than 10 seconds for me to purchase multiple assets from multiple chains. And of course, we are also excited to share that we have massive progress made over Bitcoin, where we're going to closely work with Zeus Network, Solana's native Bitcoin framework team, to actually work on implementing Bitcoin within Jupnet. And that's the Omnichain stack. With the Omnichain consensus, the Omnichain ledger, and Omnichain services, we have a full integrated suite of core components native to JupVM to operate the Omnichain liquidity network. Next, we have ADI. So at the start of the year, we introduced a completely different way to access, manage, and recover assets in SVM with an on-chain user account system. Today, we now have ZK built in, and that means that your authentications are completely private. So the goals for ADI are just three simple things. We want everything for authentication to be fully on-chain and natively supporting all of the authentication schemes that you use today. Apart from that, it should be universally accessible and be unified as much as possible and be secure and recoverable. So think about direct on-chain passkeys and open ID logins. Nothing centralized, nothing stored by anyone. Everyone on-chain shares it together as part of the DARS network. We also have MFA, which is multi-factor authentication, a way for you to recover your your account through recovery keys, and of course have advanced user account management as a default model for you to interact with the network. So here's a quick look at how passkeys work in Jupnet. Oh wait, OAuth first, sorry, with Google. So you sign in, you click your account, you get in, and voila, you now have an account with multiple deposits across multiple networks in one place. The second is actually passkeys. This is never seen before. So all you have to do is just, if you have a MacBook, just tap your Touch ID and you're good to go. You're into your Jupnet account. And that is ADI. Last but not least, we have the toxic prevention engine. The reason why we are building this is because we want to create an effective on-chain capital market, and that's why we want to introduce a toxic prevention engine framework to address a few key goals. So the few key goals actually are to remove as much toxicity as possible on-chain. Today, math operators do batching and sequencing of transactions to maximize the revenue and rewards. This is really, really not aligned to users or apps or builders like yourselves. We also want to improve performance, chain performance, by enabling bigger capacity of trades per second. And ultimately, we want better UX for our applications so that users get the best experience and use case and efficiency possible. So to address them, we have three things. We have preferred leaders, batch transactions, and prioritized sequencing. So one very interesting concept is actually batch transactions. They actually get priority locking since they process a significantly larger number or count of user operations, or we call trade actions, through a special batch transaction pipeline that's built within SVM. So this is a simple concept of how we can sequence transactions with batch transactions in Jupnet. If you look at it in a different perspective, you have a ton of place and cancel orders. Given enough place and cancel orders, they can actually cancel each other out. So what's the point of pushing them on-chain as a transaction? But what we can also do is that if we were to put them together, we can basically flatten them out and increase throughput. What we've seen thus far with our current implementation is that we've managed to reduce transaction size for about 300 trade operations by about 70%. So this is a brief overview of an explorer that we've built called Jup FM, which actually depicts and illustrates a transaction that contains 300 different trade actions in one place. You would not be able to see this in a single transaction. And we are really, really happy to share it with you today. And that's it. that's basically Jupnet. So Jupnet focuses on these 3 key concepts across the entire Solana stack to build a heavily modified SVM to solve real problems that our users need. But before I end off, I would like to thank my team and my partners. They're really amazing people, and without them, we really couldn't manage to build this. We are about 20 people now, close to 20, and we hope to grow more. And we, of course, have valued partners like InstaDebt, who built Jupiter Land with us, SuiLand, and Zeus, of course. And we need your help. So if you'd like to learn more about Jupnet and you want to partner and work together with us to adapt more chains or even your chain, feel free to come by me and look for me anytime.